All right. Hello and welcome. Um, if you watched the last video I did, great, good for you. It was 3.5 hours or so. A crazy epic thing. If you don't remember what we did that time, uh, I designed this a schematic, like a fuzz face a clone and I call it Build Some Fuzz. We designed the PCB. Let's see if this opens now. Yeah, and as you can see, it's here. They are right. I got them from PCBWay, as I said before. They look awesome. They arrived very quickly. But I chose UPS, I think, or FedEx or something like that. Let's see if this is okay. See how beautiful this is, huh? Yeah, it's very pretty boards. Tiny though, right? So I I got all these things here. I have ordered everything. I have everything that I was talking about, it's here. I didn't even open it. So I'm not a great one to do this thing about unwrapping and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go and unpack this and there are a couple of things that I need to check straight off the bat. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna uh, I'm gonna solder this on. I'm not gonna show all of that. There's plenty of videos where I did this, but I'm just gonna go through the whole process of what I need to check first. I need to check that this is going to actually fit in. I need to check that other components are fitting. So I have pots. I have you can't see them; they're wrapped. You have LEDs. One thing I have this DC jack. I know this one is not the one I wanted, but look, this is one of those things. Like sometimes you need to do a few iterations of it. We'll make it work regardless. I see these standoffs are a bit, you know, maybe too wide. We'll see how that fits all of it. But first thing first, let's unpack and see what we have and if we can fit this. So I'm gonna unpack most of it. I'm gonna keep these resistors in these little bags just so I have the values there. So it's going to be just easier for me to get them sorted. So anyway, let me do this and I'll jump in when we have something to talk about. Okay, finished. Lots of rubbish. Yeah, at least it's recyclable. Yeah, not sure about all this waste. What we're gonna do about that? How do we resolve that problem? But look, that's not for this video. So I unpacked everything. One of the things I would first things first. Okay, so my advice would be one of my first advice would be to keep your things in these little bags if you order them like this, just so you know what you have, what the components are, etc. etc. I have my own kind of I have a big what you call it spreadsheet with all my inventory. But if you're not crazy like me to go and do all of that, you know, don't worry about it. So the other thing I have more pots here. I think if you watch the previous video, or at least parts that mattered, um, I'm gonna do two versions of this. One with these kind of pots, one with the other ones. And then I'll keep some of these on the spacers, PCB holders or whatever the name you want to give them. But then I'll use these, with soldering tabs. Um, what happened here? I accidentally ordered these twice. You have bomb there and everything is supposed to be there, and then you mess it up like like I did you order more. Now, I order in tens, it's kind of a cheaper, but like you depends on how many you make of these pedals. You probably, and if you experiment, and like, you might need to order more. In my bomb on the website and online, I have I've given uh, 1T1, and you can play with that. So you see, I ordered 4 knobs, but I ordered only 2 jacks, which is like, well, obviously that won't work. But I have loads of these laying around, so it's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that whatever I had put in the bomb, it's going to work. That's the main thing. Okay, so let's discuss. First thing, I didn't want this one, this DC kind of jack. If you see here, like how it's fit, I have cliff usually that I use. So the reason why I didn't want this one goes on this side, and then it's screwed from the inside. That means I need to put wires through this, solder them, then attach it to the box. So you can't really take out. You wouldn't, if you wanted to do something, you need to unsolder it, and that's first issue. And this is my first time ordering this this component, so one of those things. For most of them, I was pretty confident it's gonna work out. So these ones are first time ordered. I forgot to measure, to check the size of this width of this base. Now we'll see if that's going to fit. But for the rest of them, I ordered them before, so I knew what I was getting. Now, yeah, as I kind of mentioned before, you corner yourself with choices you make. Sometimes I chose this small box that made lots of my decisions, kind of limited me in what decisions I make. But art is all about, you have a limited number of notes you can use, and you create beautiful music. We're gonna create a beautiful pedal, right? So one of the things to remember also, when this is a tiny box, so this is enclosure. So this is how this is going to fit, So we are talking about something like this. So we need to be careful when we are putting the board in, how this is going to fit. And by the looks of it, it's going to be pretty tight. The reason for this being tight, this is how it's going to end up getting in. And and the components are on this side, so this is going to hit into this jack. So we'll see how we're gonna fit everything in. I have slight doubts that this is going to, it's going to be tight, but as I said, I've done this before. It's tight, we're gonna make it. If you're doing it yourself. So one thing also to remember, if you watch the first video and it's very long, I understand that. You don't need to watch it to rewatch it, or watch it, watch parts of that are relevant. You'll be able to create your own pedal, and handmade pedals like this cost over $100 or $200 in some cases. So this gives you lots of autonomy to do whatever you want. Okay, so first things first. Well, this like seventh thing that I said first thing. But first thing regarding the PCB, what you want to check is that it can fit. And it fits. Woohoo! Now, think I made a mistake here. I should have checked that it fits like this, really, here, right? So what we'll need to do is like we're talking about 2 millimeters, but that's enough to mess us up. So we might need to fit it like this, a bit slanted. We'll see how that works. But you know, if you watched the previous video, we knew it was going to be tight, okay? And then for this version of the pedal, when we use these spots, I don't know if you can see here, and this does not focus very well. The board comes right up to this part here. This part is going to be going against the enclosure. So that I got that spot on. What I didn't get right is that I should have cut off this part, move this inside, you know. So we might end up with this enclosure standing a bit like this in the end. You know, it might not go all the way in. Unfortunate. I like it to be great. It's still going to sound great. So this is one of those things, you know, you do them in iterations. I suppose you do it once, it doesn't work maybe, or it's not perfect, and you get it to be perfect. Now, I'm just saying, depends on what you want to get, and sometimes you make mistakes and you need to do everything from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see here, all these components are here, beautiful blue ones, capacitors, red ones, we have LEDs, we have everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just solder this real quick. We're going to test it, and then we're going to discuss how do we deal with the enclosure. Done. I think. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. So looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Couple of things to notice, you know. Yeah, this looks pretty much as the 3D version, I hope. Let's see how that 3D view looks like. Okay, it went on the wrong side. So yeah. Looking pretty much the same. Now, see if this... Yeah, looking pretty much the same, right? I had to, of course, bend this one. And this one is just the only note really here is that you want to solder this LED before pots because it's freaking hard to get them. And then you want this to be at the line with the board. I might need to bend it a bit more, but it looks good. Will it fit into the enclosure? And as you can see, not really. So this is where I might need to bend it here. It's going to be very, very tight. Now, these two touching is not a big deal anyway. I should have probably broken these tabs before I did all of this, but okay. And now, with a bit of a hard love, it fits, right? And this is going to be all right. This is going to fit, so we're going to fit it like this, right? Okay. So it's going to be really at the top of this, and with the hope that this one fits underneath them, so you have enough room for everything else. Okay, so that is coming along nicely. I deliberately bent this a bit to the back, so it's going to be, you know, we get more space. So here it's gonna go all the way up to here, something like this. Yeah. It's gonna be tight. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're gonna keep these at the top here. So what next thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna solder the wires here. Now, some people like to mount this onto the box and then solder everything. What I want to do is I want to try this out to see how it sounds. Did I get everything right? And then for that, I need these wires coming out, right? So I can test it. So let's do that. You know how I work. I always test these things before I mount everything. It's a real pain to sort everything, and then you need to try to fix things. Okay, and that's really it. We'll see how that works. On a note of these guys, they will fit. This one is okay because this goes like this on the bottom of the. Of course, here it's going to be really, really, really tight, but it goes from this side, so it won't affect the. So I think this is going to fit the other way as well when we try it, but like I don't need it for this version. So let me solder the wires, try it out, and then we go on to planning this enclosure. Okay, so I I corrected everything. As you can see, this is yellow is going somewhere. Oh, okay. So I use this breadboard just so it's easier for me. I just collected power and ground. This is fine, so I can plug in everything. This white cable here goes to power. Green goes to all the way to here to ground. Yellow, black. These are for my. It's out of the. It's here. It's my output jack. That's ground. It's just stereo. Doesn't really matter. Everything is just falling apart, falling away from this desk. So everything is connected. Input. This blue one goes to yellow one, and somehow ends up in input. Okay, so I didn't connect LED, doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna this if you remember, this one gonna go to the ground when the effect is engaged. So let me touch ground with it and see if we and it turns on. So that part is working. So I'm just gonna try out the effect. Okay, volume is all the way down. And you can hear it in the distance. Yeah, I'm not playing anything there. I can lower the gain. Okay, and I tried it. It's working at very high gain. There's a bit noise. Look at this. All these cables should be better when we put it into the enclosure. So it's working. That's the main thing. Now we need to plan how we're gonna put that into the box. I need to plan out where everything goes. That's going to be next, and then we move on. All right, so we will manage to fit this, right? Um, it's really tight, isn't it? And we need to be very careful what we do with this. But what I did was, I usually use my uh, Inkscape, and here I designed this, how this is going to fit. I kind of printed it out, cut it out, you know, check that the board will fit. I did a few attempts, like one attempt, second attempt, tried, then adjusted, checked, and eventually it worked. Now, I have to say it wasn't ideal because it is so tight that, I had to do a bit of adjustment with my I had to drill a bit more. I usually, what I do is I use this puncher hole puncher or whatever, this to mark where to drill. And you can see here I did this half a millimeter to the right, and that messed me up a bit later on. But because everything is so tight, that's the main point. So I would, again, for your first build, don't use this small enclosure. Once I have those marked, I just do with the smallest drill I have, pilot holes. I have this 3 millimeter drill, where this one is handy for 3 millimeter LED. That's fine. But then I had to use like 7.5. But really, I used this one. I have 12.5 millimeter for stomp switch and for DC power, but like I just don't like them. They, if you need to be very careful because it has a bit of a kick to it when it goes through. So you want to ensure that you keep this stable and clamped. For that, if you want to do it now, let me unscrew this. So first of all, this is going to be very tight, as you can see, and we'll need to solder this. It's going to be. We'll see how we're going to do this. These are going directly to the switch, so that's fine. We're just going to take them out with stranded wire, I suppose. These go to the switch. These go to the power here jack. That's going to be a tricky one because if I twist this a bit, this will touch the body of the potentiometer. Sometimes like one thing I forgot was to solder this to ground, which is probably a good idea, and we'll see if I'll need to do that later on, just to keep this enclosure at ground potential for helps with noise. But as you can see here, it's going to be, we have very little room to work with. We'll do it. We'll make it work. I've done this before, so I'm confident. But as you can see here, even these capacitors, they go straight to the jack. Again, I don't like this. So I made a couple of mistakes here. One, I should have cut out here tiny bit, because now my lid won't go in. What I might do is I'm just gonna cut out in the lid, on in the lid in the lip. I might just take a notch here so so I can close it properly. No, not a biggie. Um, the other thing I did, I just don't like this one. This one gets screwed from the inside, and this is going to be very difficult to work with because I need to solder it, put it in place, and then solder it to the board. And as you can see here, in order to get it out, it's like there's no way. Once you solder it in, the only way to get it out is to unsolder it. Yeah. Let me take this off. So the other thing was that I made mistake, and this is the only thing I wasn't really sure about this one, but I had these similar ones before, so I knew I could make them work, but I wasn't 100% sure. I don't like them. Cliff one is way better for what we are using. I used that before. Uh, but what I didn't really check was the size of these knobs, and they look great. Actually, I really like them. They're a bit rubbery, but they look nice, and they're very. I think they have good visibility. The problem is I can't fit them. See here. And I wasn't really tracking this. I checked everything else, and these were the only ones I kind of liked there. And you know what? I'll have to use a different knobs, but we'll see. I'll put this diagram and all the changes I had to make on the website. But as you can see here, I'll try to get this unscrewed real quick, real time. So if you look at here, it's not a perfect circle. I had to. So what happened was, when I was drilling my pilot hole, it kind of slipped a couple of millimeters down, so I couldn't fit the switch properly. It was going to the side, so it was slightly kind of slanted. So what I did was, yeah, washer getting in the way, locking washer that. So you see here, it was kind of a millimeter down, so it was standing like this. So I had to mill a bit this part just with a drill. You know, you drill into the end of it, so it's not circular because of that. Same thing here. I had to go tiny bit to the left for this one because it was just I drilled it kind of a millimeter or two off where I wanted it. And when you put washer, can't see anything, so it's fine. It's fine. Everything else was fine. This is just I just this went out of my hand and nearly injured myself. So just be careful when you're using power tools. Generally good advice, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to do now, I have a nice little. So what I'm going to do, I have this. So see here, I have this logo. So what I'm actually going to do is I have this cutting. So I cut out a template here for cry cut with cry cut, and then I'm just gonna use spray paint over this. So these white ones are where it is cut out, and because it's inside a circle, I had to kind of keep these tabs in, but then I had to do it from twice. So I spray white this one, and then after a tiny bit, when it touch dries, I spray over another time, and then I get the full image there. So what I need to do is, so I'm not gonna show this, but I'm gonna wash this, washing up liquid, tiny bit, scrub it with that scratch pad, and then white coat of primer with my spray, and then once that's ready, then I do red paint, and then when that's done, um, I spray white these two parts and see how that works. You know, that should be pretty nice. That's really it, and then we finish with the nice varnish at the top, so it keeps the protects the paint. Let's do this. Okay, done. So as you can see, um, we finished it. Now, what I did was this is the first time I used my air spray paint gun, or what's the name? Air spray gun. Uh, First time ever, so I got a bit, because of this, I did this from two different cutouts. Yeah, you can see how that looks like. So when you fit them together, this way, okay. They overlap, and then, you know, you get the full image. Yeah, I did it first, this part, and then the second part. I was just doing it first time, so like looks pretty good, I think. Anyway, so the last thing is now, I finished with varnish, let it dry for a day, and now this should be pretty sturdy. So the last thing, remaining is, I suppose, going to and wiring all this up. So if you have a look at, you know, I have here somewhere how to wire up the switches, and I'll use, you know, this one, I suppose. You can have a look at this if you're not familiar. Essentially, it's quite simple. Effect in, jack in. You know, I'm not going to go into details of this, but this gives you a pretty good idea of what you need to do. So it's, you know, where you say jack in, so that goes to the tip of the jack. Sleeve is going to go to ground. Same here. You know, I have ground 9 volts here. I have, what else do we need? Oh, okay. So the last thing that we need to worry about is this one. This is the only one that needs a bit extra attention. As I said, it goes here. We need to have wires already soldered there. So let's have a look at the data sheet just to make sure. You see there's 3 pins here. This one would be the sleeve, I'd say. But let me check that right away. Where's that? So looking at the datasheet here, so let's have a look at that real quick. So here, what this says, and I get a bit confused with these diagrams. This should be pin, and this should be sleeve. But when I have this component first time, I always use multimeter and I check. Okay, so what we have here is that pin that is going to be our ground, our because we have a negative center. So this is the big one here. This would just, yeah. So 2 and 3. So when we look at it like this, I suppose, this is our 2. So this is where we want to solder here. So back in the day, these how this works is this is a sleeve, and when the jack is plugged in, this pin 3 gets disconnected, and that was used back in the day for, you know, when you have a battery, and still used now. So historically, that's why we use this sleeve is positive. So when you plug it in, pin 3 gets disconnected, and this is normally connected to positive end of the battery. So that way, battery is disengaged and our external power is engaged. So this is where we always have to be very careful which power supply we use, and that's why we use power supply for pedals, because they have a negative center. Some other off-the-shelf power supplies may not have that, and probably don't have that. And if you have something laying around, make sure you check. So that's it. We are not doing reverse polarity protection on this pedal, so be careful what you're doing. So that's it. If at any point, if you're in doubt, make sure to use multimeter, check connectivity. So the last thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder this first, get the wires out, and then I'm going to solder everything else. And I'll be back when I finish soldering. And there it is. Okay. Done. Let's see if it shows, if it focuses a bit better. And obviously I had to do this, what you call it, this is jack first, but I managed to, and then I had to fit everything else in. But as you can see, everything fit in the end. Yeah, here, when I screwed in these jacks, you can see that they're metal jacks. Some of them are plastic, but that means with these metal ones, I get to, I have connection with the enclosure, and then that gives me a grounding for the whole enclosure. I used one of the wires is like a stranded wire. Most of them are solid wires. I found it easier with solid wires to do this. This one is a bit messy. Anyway, one thing I had to do was, because I couldn't fit this because of, as I said, this one is, it's too close to the end of the enclosure. So I had to do a little notch here. I took angle grinder. Angle grinder is like one of those tools I'm freaking out. Like it scares me, to be honest. It sounds so manly. I take all sorts of precautions when I use that. So just to take that little notch so it fits nicely and fits here. If I turned it around, it just wouldn't fit, as you can see here. There's a little gap. So I made it work in the end, even though but again, it's a bit tricky one. And I found some knobs. Yeah, they look a bit crappy. The other ones that I wanted to put are way nicer. Where they are. Here they are, but they're just too big. They would have been really nice looking on this one. But look, that's it, done. I'm gonna now close this and give it a try, and then we'll finish it. And that's it. I suppose, like, it looks pretty much how you'd expect. I mean, it's working. I'll make sure to add, whatever changes I notice are necessary for this, and like all the little things that I wanted to fix. I'm gonna add it to the previous video, to the previous uh, post, and like as usual, in the description you'll find the link, all the details about this. So that's it. As you could see, when it goes all the way to maximum gain, there is a bit of a noise there. That so usable gain is from here. Volume is pretty much nearly at the maximum, so you could really control it there. But you know um, at the output there is kind of a filter, so this is going to be a bit, this might affect your sound if you go too low, but if you go this far, it's fine. And let me try then the other version of the pedal next. I hope I'll make it quicker than this time around and see what we get. All right, until next time.